Are you Mr. Ralston? Thank you, sir. Detective Sergeant Trotter, Berkshire Police. Can I get these skis off and stow them somewhere? Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. I'm not quite as young as I look, madam. Now we can get to business, Mr. Ralston, Mrs. Ralston. It's not necessary, sir. It'll save time if everybody's present. If I might sit at this table. Thank you. Done. Oh, it's nothing of that kind, Mrs. Ralston. It's something quite different. It's more a matter of police protection, if you understand me. It relates to the death of Mrs. Lyon, Mrs. Maureen Lyon of 24 Culver Street, London, West 2, who was murdered yesterday, the 15th instant. You may have heard or read about the case? That's right, madam. The first thing I want to know is if you were acquainted with this Mrs. Lyon. You mayn't have known her under the name of Lyon. Lyon wasn't her real name. She had a police record and her fingerprints were on file, so we were able to identify her without difficulty. Her real name was Maureen Stanning. Her husband was a farmer, John Stanning, who resided at Longridge Farm, not very far from here. Yes, the Longridge Farm case. That's right, miss. The Corrigans, two boys and a girl, brought before the court as in need of care and protection. A home was found for them with Mr. and Mrs. Stanning at Longridge Farm. One of the children subsequently died as a result of criminal neglect and persistent ill treatment. The case made a bit of a sensation at the time. The Stannings were sentenced to terms of imprisonment. Stanning died in prison. Mrs. Stanning served her sentence and was duly released. Yesterday, as I say, she was found strangled at 24 Culver Street. I'm coming to that, madam. A notebook was picked up near the scene of the crime. In that notebook was written two addresses. One was 24 Culver Street, the other was Monkswell Manor. Yes, sir, that's why Superintendent Hogben, on receiving this information from Scotland Yard, thought it imperative for me to come out here and find out if you knew of any connection between this house or anyone in this house and the Longridge Farm case. Superintendent Hogben doesn't think it is a coincidence, sir. He'd have come himself if it had been in any way possible. But under the weather conditions and as I can ski, he sent me with instructions to get full particulars of everyone in the house, to report back to him by phone, and to take what measures I thought fit to ensure the safety of the household. I don't want to frighten any of the ladies, but frankly, yes, that is the idea. That's what I'm here to find out. Yes, sir, it's because it's crazy that it's dangerous. Yes, Mrs. Ralston. Below the two addresses was written 3 blind mice, and on the dead woman's body was a paper with "This is the first" written on it, and below the words a drawing of 3 little mice and a bar of music. The music was the tune of the nursery rhyme, "Three blind mice." You know how it goes. 3 blind mice. Yes, the youngest, a boy of 11. The girl was adopted by someone. We haven't been able to trace her present whereabouts. The elder boy would now be about 22, deserted from the army and has not been heard of since. According to the army psychologist, was definitely schizophrenic. A bit queer in the head, that's to say. Yes, that's what I've got to find out from you. As the superintendent sees it, there must be some connection. Now, you state, sir, that you yourself have never had any connection with the Longridge Farm case. And the same goes for you, madam? What about servants? That's quite all right, Mrs. Ralston. Now can I have all your names, please? You'd planned to come here in advance, though. You'd booked your rooms here ahead. I see. What I'm getting at is that anyone who's been following you around might know very well that you were coming here. Now, there's just one thing I want to know, and I want to know it quick. Which one of you is it that has some connection with that business at Longridge Farm? You're not being very sensible, you know. One of you is in danger. Deadly danger. I've got to know which one that is. All right, I'll ask you one by one. You first, since you seem to have arrived here more or less by accident, Mr. Petty. Mrs. Miss? You, sir? And you. And that's all you have to say. Any of you? Well, if one of you gets murdered, you'll have yourself to blame. Now then, Mr. Ralston, can I have a look around the house? Well, everything's all right upstairs. What's in here? Drawing room? Sorry, madam, but I've got to get the lay of the land. Well, that completes the tour. Nothing suspicious. I think I'll make my report now to Superintendent Hogben. What? Since when? But it was all right earlier. Superintendent Hogben got through all right. I wonder. It may have been cut. Mr. Ralston, just how much do you know about these people who are staying in your guest house? Ah, I shall go into all that, of course, but there's not much reliance to be placed on that sort of evidence. Unless he's here already. Why not, Mr. Ralston? All these people arrived here yesterday evening, some hours after the murder of Mrs. Stanning. Plenty of time to get here. Well, why not? These crimes were planned. That it will happen here, no. I hope to prevent that. That it will be attempted, yes. It isn't fantastic, it's just facts. Medium height, indeterminate build, darkish overcoat, soft felt hat, face hidden by a muffler, spoke in a whisper. There are 3 darkish overcoats hanging up in the hall now. One of them is yours, Mr. Ralston. There are 3 lightish felt hats. You see, it's this telephone wire that worries me. If it's been cut... Is there an extension? Yes, Mr. Ralston, I said, is there an extension? Go and try it up there for me, will you? Now, Mrs. Ralston, try and think. Think! Mrs. Boyle had only just been killed when you got to her. You came from the kitchen. Are you sure you didn't see or hear anybody as you came along the hallway? That was clearly the murderer's idea. Or murderess. You might have done. If the murderer had left the hall that way, he might have heard you coming from the kitchen. He might have slipped up the back stairs or into the dining room. Which door? Think, Mrs. Ralston, try and think. Upstairs, downstairs, close at hand, right, left. We're investigating a murder, Mr. Ralston. Up to now, nobody has taken this thing seriously. Mrs. Boyle didn't. She held out on me with information. You all held out on me. Well, Mrs. Boyle is dead. Unless we get to the bottom of this, and quickly, mind, there may be another death. Because there were 3 little blind mice. Yes, there would have to be that. Because there were only 2 addresses in the notebook we found. Now, at 24 Culver Street, there was only one possible victim. She's dead, but here at Monkswell Manor there is a wider field. Given certain circumstances, it wouldn't be so much of a coincidence. Think it out, Miss Casewell. Now, I want to get down quite clearly where everyone was when Mrs. Boyle was killed. I've already got Mrs. Ralston's statement. You were in the kitchen preparing vegetables. You came out of the kitchen, along the passage, through the swing door, into the hall and in here. The radio was blaring, but the light was switched off and the hall was dark. You switched the light on, saw Mrs. Boyle, and screamed. Yes, as you say, people came. A lot of people from different directions, all arriving more or less at once. Now then, when I got out of that window to trace the telephone wire, you, Mr. Ralston, went upstairs to the room you and Mrs. Ralston occupied to try the extension telephone. Where were you when Mrs. Ralston screamed? Those simple actions took you a rather long time, didn't they, Mr. Ralston? I should say you definitely took your time over them. Very well. Now then, Mr. Wren, I'll have your account of where you were. Why? You went to your bedroom because you wanted to be alone. You wanted to brush your hair. And you heard Mrs. Ralston scream, and you came down. Curious that you and Mr. Ralston didn't meet on the stairs. Did you go to your room by the back stairs, or did you come through here? I see. Mr. Pedavicini. I'm not an inspector, just a sergeant, Mr. Pedavicini. Did anybody hear you playing the piano? Is that so? Whistling it where? Who was whistling Three Blind Mice? Are you making this up, Mr. Pedavicini? Well, go on, you were playing the piano. Mr. Ralston upstairs, Mr. Wren upstairs, Mr. Pedavicini in the drawing-room. Miss Casewell, could you hear what was going on in here? And what did you do then? At once? You say you were writing letters when you heard Mrs. Ralston scream, and got up from the writing table hurriedly and came in here, and yet there doesn't seem to be any unfinished letter on the writing desk in the library. Dearest Jessie, a friend of yours, or relation? Perhaps not. You know, if I were to hear someone screaming blue murder when I was writing a letter, I don't believe I'd take the time to pick up my unfinished letter, fold it, and put it in my handbag before going to see what was the matter. Now, Major Metcalf, what about you? You say you were in the cellar. Why? We're not engaged in antiquarian research, Major Metcalf. We are investigating a murder. Mrs. Ralston has told us that she heard a door shut with a faint creak. That particular door shuts with a creak. It could be, you know, that after killing Mrs. Boyle, the murderer heard Mrs. Ralston coming from the kitchen and slipped into the cupboard, pulling the door to after him. It's usual, but all criminals slip up, sooner or later. Please, Mr. Ralston, I'm in charge of this investigation. Mr. Ralston. Thank you. We've got to establish opportunity, you know, as well as motive. And now let me tell you this. You all had opportunity. There are 2 staircases. Anyone could go up by one and come down by the other. Anyone could go down to the cellars by the door near the kitchen and come up by a flight of steps that leads through a trap door to the foot of the stairs over there. The vital fact was that every one of you was alone at the time the murder was committed. In a murder case, everyone is under suspicion. We don't frame people. I'm not arresting anyone. To do that, I've got to have evidence. I haven't got any evidence yet. Certainly, Mrs. Ralston. Will the rest of you go into the dining room, please? Yes, Mrs. Ralston, what is it you want to say to me? We don't actually know a thing. All we've got so far is that the woman who joined with her husband in ill-treating and starving those children has been killed, and that the woman magistrate responsible for placing them there has been killed. The telephone wire that links me with police headquarters has been cut. No, Mrs. Ralston, the line was deliberately cut. It was cut just outside by the front door. I found the place. Sit down, Mrs. Ralston. I'm going by probability. It all points one way. Mental instability, childish mentality, desertion from the army, and the psychiatrist's report. Such as, the mother was a drunk. She died soon after the children were taken away from her. He was an army sergeant serving abroad. If he's alive, he's probably discharged from the army by now. We've no information. To trace him may take some time, but I can assure you, Mrs. Ralston, that the police take every eventuality into account. Well, it's a possibility. That's only surmise. Oh yes, Mrs. Ralston, it's quite possible. Major Metcalf? No, often it doesn't show at all. Any other suggestions? Mr. Pedavicini, you're very anxious, aren't you, that it shouldn't be young Mr. Wren? Mrs. Ralston, let me tell you something. I've had all possibilities in mind ever since the beginning. The boy, Georgie, the father, and someone else. There was a sister, you remember. It could have been a woman who killed Marine Lyon, a woman. The muffler pulled up, and the man's felt hat pulled well down, and the killer whispered, you know. It's the voice that gives the sex away. Yes, it might have been a woman. She looks a bit old for the part. Oh yes, Mrs. Ralston, there's a very wide field. There's yourself, for instance. You're about the right age. No, whatever you tell me about yourself, I've got no means of checking it at this moment, remember? And then there's your husband. He and Christopher Wren are much of an age. Say your husband looks older than his years, and Christopher Wren looks younger. Actual age is very hard to tell. How much do you know about your husband, Mrs. Ralston? You've been married how long? And you met him where? Did you meet his people? They're all dead. You're only telling me what he told you. You don't know it of your own knowledge. You would be surprised, Mrs. Ralston, if you knew how many cases rather like yours we get, especially since the war. Homes broken up and families dead. Fellow says he's been in the Air Force or just finished his army training. Parents killed, no relations. There aren't any backgrounds nowadays, and young people settle their own affairs. They meet and marry. It's parents and relatives who used to make the enquiries before they consented to an engagement. That's all done away with. Girl just marries her man. Sometimes she doesn't find out for a year or two that he's an absconding bank clerk or an army deserter or something equally undesirable. How long had you known Giles Ralston when you married him? And you don't know anything about him? Where was he? Here? Bring it back with him? Oh, you only 30 miles from London, aren't you? You got an ABC? Only an hour by train, a little longer by car. Just a minute, Mrs. Ralston. This your husband's coat? Evening News, yesterday's. Sold on the streets about 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Don't you? Don't you? Mr. Ralston, Mrs. Ralston, have you removed my skis from the cupboard back there where we put them? Somebody's taken them. The snow is still lying. I need help here, reinforcements. I was going to ski over to the police station at Market Hampton to report on the situation. Yes, what? Is this true, Mrs. Ralston? Did you take my skis, Mr. Wren? Mrs. Ralston seemed to think Now listen, you people, this is a serious matter. Somebody has removed my only chance of communication with the outside world. I want everybody here at once. It's a question of my skis. Did either of you two remove a pair of skis from the cupboard near the kitchen door? Nevertheless, they are gone. Which way did you go to your room? Then you passed the cupboard door. You were actually in that cupboard today. At the time Mrs. Boyle was killed. Were the skis in the cupboard when you passed through? Didn't you see them there? You must remember if those skis were there then. You realize that you yourself had an excellent opportunity of taking them. The question is, where are they now? Not quite so fast, Major Metcalf. That may be, what we are meant to do. I'm in the position now where I've got to put myself in the place of a crazy, cunning brain. I've got to ask myself what he wants us to do and what he himself is planning to do next. I've got to try and keep just one step ahead of him, because if I don't, there's going to be another death. Yes, Miss Casewell, I do. 3 blind mice. 2 mice cancelled out. A third mouse still to be dealt with. There are 6 of you here listening to me. One of you's a killer. One of you's a killer. I don't know which yet, but I shall. And another of you is the killer's prospective victim. That's the person I'm speaking to. Mrs. Boyle held out on me. Mrs. Boyle is dead. You, whoever you are holding out on me. Well, don't. Because you're in danger. Nobody who's killed twice is going to hesitate to kill a third time. And, as it is, I don't know which of you it is who needs protection. Come on now, anybody here who has anything, however slight, to reproach themselves for in that bygone business had better come out with it. All right, you won't. I'll get the killer, I've no doubt of that, but it may be too late for one of you. And I'll tell you another thing. The killer's enjoying this. Yes, he's enjoying himself a good deal. All right, you can go. What did you say to the lady to upset her, sir? There's nice fun, and there's fun that's not so nice. I've been doing a little wondering about you, sir. I've been wondering about that car of yours and how it happened to overturn in a snowdrift so conveniently. That rather depends on the way you're looking at it. Just where were you bound for, by the way, when you had this accident? In this neighborhood? And what was the name and address of this friend? We always like the fullest information. What did you say this friend's name was? No, you didn't say, and it seems you're not going to say. That's very interesting. Rather old to be running around with the ladies at your time of life, aren't you? That's just what I've been thinking, sir, that you may not be as old as you try to look. There's a great deal of people going about trying to look younger than they are. If somebody goes about trying to look older, well, it does make one ask oneself why. I might get an answer from myself. I don't get many from you. 1 or 2. Just where were you coming from last night? What address in London? Very nice too, I'm sure. What is your permanent address? What's your business or profession? Stockbroker? Enjoying this little game, aren't you? Sure of yourself too, but I shouldn't be too sure. You're mixed up in a murder case, and don't you forget it. Murder isn't just fun and games. For the moment, yes. Just a minute, please. Yes, perhaps you'd come and sit down. You may have heard some of the questions I was asking Mr. Paravicini. I'd like to have a little information from you. Full name, please. Catherine. Quite so. Address? That's in Italy? What's your address in England? I see. And your address in England? No other English address? How long have you been in England? And you've been staying since your arrival? What brought you to Monkswell Manor, Miss Casewell? And how long did you, or do you, propose to remain here? And what was that? And what was that? What was it you came here to do? You haven't answered my question. All the same, Miss Casewell, would you mind telling me your age? 24. Is there anyone in this country who can vouch for you? In Majorca? Were you born abroad? You know, Miss Casewell, I can't quite make you out. I don't know. What are you doing here? It does worry me. You say you went abroad when you were 13. Was your name Casewell then? What was your name then? Come on, tell me. I want to know what your name was when you left England. There are things one doesn't forget. Unhappiness, despair. What's your real name? Catherine. What are you doing here? I've merely been interrogating Miss Casewell. It's impossible. I can't believe it. Oh yes, it's rather like that. But I've seen something I ought to have seen before. Blind as a bat I've been. But I think we now may be able to get somewhere. Yes, Mr. Wren, at last. The police have a clue. I want everybody assembled in here again. Do you know where they are? I'll get him. You get the others. Mr. Paravicini! Mr. Paravicini! Paravicini! Sit down, Major Mrs. Ralston. There are more important things than meals, Mrs. Ralston. Mrs. Boyle, for instance, won't want another meal. I'm sorry, but I want cooperation, and I intend to get it. Mr. Ralston, will you go up and ask Miss Casewell to come down again? She went up in her room. Tell her it will only be for a few minutes. No, Mrs. Ralston, but I may say I have a very shrewd suspicion of who took them and of why they were taken. I will not say more at the present moment. This isn't a game, sir. Sit down, Miss Casewell, Mrs. Ralston. Will you all pay attention, please? You remember that after the murder of Mrs. Boyle, I took statements from you all. These statements related to your positions at the time the murder was committed. These statements were as follows. Mrs. Ralston, in the kitchen. Mr. Paravicini playing the piano in the drawing room. Mr. Ralston in his bedroom. Mr. Wren, ditto. Miss Casewell in the library. Major Metcalfe in the cellar. These were the statements you made. I had no means of checking these statements. They may be true, they may not. To put it quite frankly, 5 of those statements are true, but 1 is false. Which one? 5 of you were telling the truth. 1 of you was lying. I have a plan that will help me to discover the liar. And when I discover that it is one of you who lied to me, then I know who the murderer is. Recheck. I have a plan that may help me to discover the liar. And if I discover that one of you has lied to me, then I know who the murderer is. I rather doubt that. No, but supposing everyone was to go through these actions a second time. Not a reconstruction of the crime, Mr. Paravicini, a reconstruction of the actions of apparently innocent persons. You will forgive me if I don't make that quite clear at the present moment. Yes, Mr. Ralston, I do. What do you mean it's a trap? I only want people to do exactly what they did before. Do you, Mr. Wren? I can't count anybody out. One might almost believe that you're all guilty by the looks of you. Why are you all so unwilling? The same actions will be performed, yes. Not quite so fast, Mr. Paravicini. Do you play the piano, Mrs. Ralston? Did you know the tune of Three Blind Mice? Then you could pick it out with one finger, just as Mr. Paravicini did. Good. Please go into the drawing room, sit at the piano bench, and wait until you hear my signal to play. Recheck. Good. Please go into the drawing room, sit at the piano, and be ready to play when I give you the signal. The same actions will be performed, but not necessarily by the same people. Thank you, Mrs. Ralston. There is a point. It is a means of checking up on the original statements, and maybe one statement in particular. Now then, will you all pay attention, please? I will assign each of you your new stations. Mr. Wren, will you kindly go to the kitchen? Just keep an eye on Mrs. Ralston's dinner for her. You're very fond of cooking, I believe. Mr. Paravicini, will you go up to Mr. Wren's room? By the back stairs is the most convenient way. Major Metcalfe, will you go up to Mr. Ralston's room and examine the telephone wire there? Miss Casewell, would you mind going down to the cellars? Mr. Wren will show you the way. Unfortunately, I need someone to reproduce my own actions. I'm sorry to ask it of you, Mr. Ralston, but would you mind going out that window and to follow the telephone wire round to near the front door? Rather a chilly job, but you're probably the toughest person here. I am enacting the part of Mrs. Boyle. You will all stay in your places and remain there until you hear me call you. I should advise it, sir. Take my torch, it's behind the curtain. Mrs. Ralston, count 20 and then begin to play. Mrs. Ralston, I've got exactly what I wanted. Yes, I know. You ought to know, Mrs. Ralston. Yes, you've been extraordinarily foolish, you know. You've run a very good chance of being killed by holding out on me. As a result, you've been in serious danger more than once. Come now, Mrs. Ralston, we policemen aren't quite so dumb as you may think. All along I've realized that you had first-hand knowledge of the Longridge Farm affair. You knew Mrs. Boyle was the magistrate concerned. In fact, you knew all about it. Why didn't you speak up and say so? Your maiden name was Waring? Miss Waring. You taught school, in the school where those children went. It's true, isn't it, that Jimmy, the child who died, managed to get a letter posted to you? The letter begged for help, help from his kind young teacher. You never answered that letter. You just didn't bother. Yes, it's monstrous. The police don't. I'm not a policeman, Mrs. Ralston. You thought I was a policeman because I rang up from a call box and said that I was speaking from police headquarters and that Sergeant Trotter was on his way. I cut the telephone wires that before I came to the front door. You know who I am, Mrs. Ralston? I'm Georgie. I'm Jimmy's brother, Georgie. You'd better not scream, Mrs. Ralston, because if you do I shall fire this revolver. I'd like to talk to you a little. I said I'd like to talk to you a little. Jimmy died. That nasty, cruel old woman killed him. That nasty, cruel woman killed him. Recheck. They put her in prison. Prison wasn't bad enough for her. I said I'd kill her one day. I did too. In the fog. It was great fun. I hope Jimmy knows. I'll kill them all when I've grown up. That's what I said to myself, because grown-ups can do anything they like. I'm going to kill you in a minute. Someone's hindered my skis. I can't find them, but it doesn't matter. I don't really mind if I get away or not. I'm tired. It's all been such fun watching you all and pretending to be a policeman. It were rather much better to do it the usual way and take you by the neck. The last little mouse in the trap. Dogs? Kathy? Kathy, it is you. What are you doing here? Where are we going?